Now let's move on to talk about traffic, and not just about the traffic this morning, but about traffic that might hit once every few weeks. Traffic on full moon nights.
Yes.
Doug Turnbull is standing by. He looked into this. So, Doug, the question, does a full moon actually make traffic worse, Mr. Gridlock guy?
It's going to be a loaded and nuanced answer here. Now, the reason I even approached that, back on April 1st, almost 2 weeks ago, April Fool's Day, we had a terrible morning on the roads. We had 3 fatalities. 2 of them were pedestrians hit by vehicles. We had 2 vehicle fires. Mm-hmm. We had numerous other wrecks that were just happening. There was a sequence from like a half hour where it was just like bang, bang, bang. And Rachel and I were just all over the place. That's why we have a team, by the way. I know today it was just Boise and me, but that's why it's usually Rachel and me, because when it gets like that, you need multiple people looking at multiple angles of this stuff to find the next thing. So that morning, one of the pedestrian incidents we had to park by for a long time, I noticed that the moon was full, or almost full anyway, in the sky. And then it dawned on me sometime mid-morning, the full moon thing. Now, here's what I mean by the full moon thing, and I'll kind of get to what the article says here in a second. In my almost 22 years now covering traffic, calling 911 dispatchers, and talking to them. Yep. This is National Public Safety Telecom Workers Week, by the way.
Oh,
so it's
hats
their appreciation
off to
week.
them.
Yeah, I've got an interview right after this with someone I'm going to have and talk to us about it
Unsung
later
heroes,
this week. Yeah,
I must
absolutely. They really are. You talk a lot about police and firefighters, but they're the ones on the other side of the mic when you call. So they talk a lot about, oh, man, I'll say, hey, Cherokee County, how's it going over there? Oh, full moon today. They're out there acting crazy, something like that. And it just got me thinking, okay, are there actually studies that show crash data with this? So I didn't look up crime data or anything else, but I ended up finding 6 or 7 different studies from all over the place, multiple decades, multiple generations. And I just want to run down what I found here. My Gridlock Guy column is on 11alive.com/traffic. So in 2022, there was a German insurance company, and there was a day in May that had a full moon. Those happen once a month, by the way. And that was their 3rd highest crash claim rate of the year that year. The other 2 days, though, had bad weather. So they were attributing full moon to maybe that. And also, they said the reason why is you need a reason.
Yes, please.
Because there's more light at nighttime, and your body produces less melatonin. It needs darkness to do that. But, of course, I'm thinking I'm inside when I'm asleep. So I don't know how that works, but okay. There was a study that Princeton did. I reached out to the professor on this study, did not get an email back because I wanted to talk to him. They studied fatal motorcycle crashes and correlated them to nights of full moons, and they saw a 32% increase, again, in fatal, not just overall, but fatal motorcycle crashes, and attributed that to the distraction of the moon, actually, to being bright. All right? So we've got that. So, okay, let's go to another study. Now, this is digging deep. You ready?
Yes.
1994 from the Czech Republic. They studied 60,000 crashes over a number of years, and they found that there was an increase in wrecks, and they attributed both to full and new moons and said that there is more precipitation in the atmosphere around full and new moons.
Okay.
I need to note that our April 1st crazy morning a couple of weeks ago was a very dry morning, as the whole month of April just about
As it
has
has
been
been
here in Georgia. In Japan, 2018, they did a data plunge, and they found a marked increase in medical transports due to crashes around full moons for men 40 and over before midnight.
Okay.
That was, okay? So that
Very
doesn't show me a lot. All right. Now, another German study that goes from 1964 to 1988 found more crashes in the new moon phase, so the no moon basically phase, than the full moon. And but the author that presented that study, I think they had the same question at a website I've never been to called fullmoon.info, and that is about lunar full moons, just to be clear. But they noted that many holidays coincide with moons. That one hit late, didn't it, Dan?
Thank you.
But so maybe with a bunch of holidays, that could be a reason people out doing revelry and whatnot. And 2 more. Okay.
Okay.
Got some time
Please.
here. Okay. There's a 2024 study in Texas that saw a 46% increase in that went up until January of 2020 of wildlife versus vehicle crashes during full moons. But we know, deer, different things, their biocycles are driven by that.
Sure.
So that could be part of it. And then the last study, and this came up on the first page of the Google search.
Okay.
A 2005, and I'm not making this up, California Science Fair project. We're talking high schoolers. They weighed in, and the student found no correlation in the crashes they studied between full moons and wrecks. All right?
Okay.
So we've had big correlation. We've had wildlife. We've had new moons do more. We've had, is it caused by too much light, too much darkness on new moons, distractions? It's all over the place. And I want to say, too, that when you look at a calendar, especially if you're doing this study over years and years, you don't know what the weather conditions were like.
Right.
You don't know if it was New Year's Eve. You don't. There are so many things that cause wrecks. Maybe the rune has a slight effect, but not as much as we might think. My wife did tell me when I told her I was doing this that her mom sleepwalks during full moons. And they have found her come back in the house with dirty feet after sleepwalking. Her mom in Germany. So Germany referenced 3 times in this. I hope you all learned. If you learned anything today, it's that you learned nothing. I don't know.
It's taught me that if you don't like what one study says, just wait till the next one comes out.
Which is what my punchline is basically at the end of the column. So it was a tragic morning, not to make too much light of that, but I kind of had some fun tossing the idea around. And you can find it all and links to all the studies in the column on 11live.com/traffic, Dan.
Now, Doug, anecdotally, I remember April 1st was the day that it was really bad, right?
Yes.
I remember when you were in here later that morning, and you mentioned the full moon that morning.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like top of mind.
Yes.
Has this, in 20 years of covering Atlanta traffic, have you often thought about full moon mornings and what it could mean for the job?
We always try to find what in the world is causing more of something, right? I don't know. There have been times where certainly there have been crazy days. There are plenty of full moon days where it's just a normal day, too, and that's the thing. So when it's happening in the moment, you look around. We'll see, is it a Wednesday? Let's see, is it is it my birthday? Like, what's going on? I do think that we try, and I reference this in the column, we try to find something to attribute our craziness to. We also go through cycles in Atlanta. Lately, we've had a lot of fatal pedestrian incidents on the freeways. What's going on in Atlanta? Sometimes it's just coincidence. I mean, we'll go through a stretch of wrong way crashes, a stretch of people threatening to jump off of bridges, like vehicle fires, and sometimes it is because it is.
Just freak accidents.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, the next full moon, Friday, May 1st. So
go figure. First of the month.
Clear your calendar, and
Yeah.
why don't you just keep an eye on things?
And I will say that April 1st one, technically the full moon was that night. All right, so we were like almost full moon that morning.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to look studies on one-day removed full moons, and I'll come back to you next week with that.
All right, that's Gridlock Guy, our full moon expert, talking, of course, about the moon. All
That's
right,
it.
thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.